Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. And we're zooming in and focusing in on a very important viewer question, and that is really the how long does it take to recover from a relationship with a psychopath where you have encountered a disruption in your inner reality, your inner perspective, your inner equilibrium. Your emotional center is all out of whack. Perhaps this has been a love relationship and you have been hyper aroused. You have been aroused in ways that are in a violation of nature. They have used a chemical way or method of speaking to you and behaving with you and violating of your boundaries through high risk and high arousal scenarios to get you hyper aroused, and oftentimes this can involve sexuality. And to keep things on this form of discussion, because I know that this is very important to a lot of people, and this is really how the trauma and the terror is set up, is that there is a violation. A psychopath will use the means of sexuality to overwhelm and overtake others. So they'll become extremely promiscuous. They will use whatever curves they have for both male and female. Wear excessively tight clothing, flaunt their body, have all sorts of manipulative ways of making themselves appear. And it's also an energy that comes off, but making them seem part of really everything that is around. It's a very uncomfortable phenomena where there's a twisting and a distortion of reality, and it puts people in a psychological mindset where really they can't stop thinking about this person. They become hyper aroused. There's an addiction through a concoction of chemicals that are arousal combined with fear and sort of self-violation. So people then become aroused by their own self-annihilation or self-violation. Things no longer seem important. They're once very crucial or central to that person's life and reality. It becomes removed or denatured from them, and a disequilibrium is set place, and then the psychopath then fills it with their needs. And to do that, they must hollow out the person that is within. They must hyper arouse them. And as a client who, he said, I must be a great case study for you, and I'm sure he won't allow, he won't mind if I use his example, but there was a female psychopath who had targeted him and, constantly was violating his boundaries, asking, for sex in a car, in a park. I mean, this is just so textbook psychopathic, but she would arouse him and never kiss him. She would never kiss him. And as you know, that's part of the consummate act, is to be intimate with someone, to kiss them. I mean, to hug, to have that heart center. So it was that constant hyper arousal sexually without any kissing, without any intimacy. So he became hyper aroused, and then he, wanting to be the man, would give in and would not, this erosion of boundaries took place probably very quickly, but then very repeatedly. So then the hyper arousal set in, where, of course, if you are hyper aroused in this state and not allowed to have the intimacy, then your values would plummet. Your self-esteem, your own self in your life would become denatured. It would be dissolved, and then the psychopathic needs would be set up, and then your needs slowly become foreign to you. So you might have kind of like an out-of-body experience. You might not know who you are. You might not have connection to life anymore. You might not be able to focus. Like, all this is thrown out of whack. You become underwater with yourself, and so this can be a very psychologically torturous place to be. And so, part of my focus and the tools here is to realize that this is how a psychopath will operate. I mean, they're not sexually attracted to you. They do this purely as a method to dominate and control others. It gives them a sense of a thrill or adventure. being able to delude others, being able to take them to the fits of addiction, in fits of fear and fits of despair, and they get aroused. And this video is about to wrap up because of my timer. I will follow up with this on the next section.